order. Everyone please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ashley, can I have roll call, please?
Menard. Hibma.
Here.
Jurdy. Fisher.
Here.
Briggs.
Here.
Cavalier.
Here.
Alt.
Here.
Plot.
Here.
Okay, it's time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first and last name and address, please. Hearing nothing from the chambers. Keying anybody on the phone bridge, please.
Nobody on the phone bridge, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, no presentations or public hearings. This brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add anything to tonight's agenda? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Henry and Clayton. Discussion. Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Hibma.
Here, or aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Alt.
Aye.
Plot.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. This brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Yes, 6.08, please.
Okay. Anything else? I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Wendy. Roll call, please.
Hibma.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Alt.
Aye.
Plot.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. This brings us to regular agenda. Ashley, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 8.01 is a resolution regarding the rezone of real property located within the parcels of 82.00162.00 and 82.00162.15 and 82.00162.16 in the city of Crookston.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this
So
resolution?
moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Delane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Thank you. Discussion. Jeff, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, this resolution is rezoning the Red River Valley Shows property. The grant, we were notified that the grant has been awarded and will be brought to council for acceptance. In preparation, this paves the way to move forward with our project with removing the asbestos and demolition and redevelopment. The current zoning is rural commercial, the change is to commercial 3. And just for reference, rural commercial is the same as C2, except that the RC allows equestrian activity. As y'all know, that facility was used by UMC and then originally and then followed by the Red River Valley Shows for equestrian presentations. C3 is comparable to C2, except it's more office and non-retail friendly. We do have office space planned for the redevelopment, and the current surrounding zoning is a combination of C2 and C3, with the exception of directly to the north, the Armory is zoned institutional. And I'm available for any other questions.
So is the process, we approve this rezoning, and then do we have to, we already had the, discussion on matching that if we got the, so that's already done, correct?
We've had that discussion with the council, we just simply need to formally accept the grant.
Okay,
And at that point, we would be clear to acquire the property and begin the process of demolition and redevelopment.
okay. So then we'll, sometime this year, we'll probably begin to, send out bids for the removal.
We already have some bids. I believe we may, because of timing, we may need to update some, update the bids. However, the anticipation is we would be taking possession of the property likely in the spring.
Okay,
We're investigating, the reason that we're putting this forward now is we're in, Housing and Economic Development and I are investigating whether or not it will be possible for us to take possession before November 14th. And the rationale for that is there is a federal grant, no match asbestos grant available. But that has a deadline, but the deadline is not the 14th, but we have to own it by the 14th. And we're trying to figure out whether or not logistically we can get that process complete prior to that date.
okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Alt. Aye. Plot.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.02 is a resolution regarding the donation of the Tri-Valley Building.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Your Honor.
A second?
Got
Clayton.
Clayton and Delane, thank you. Discussion,
Your Honor, yes, Your Honor, this is simply the resolution authorizing me and the mayor to sign the paperwork, taking possession of the building being donated by Tri-Valley. It is my understanding Jason is in the audience if we have any questions. It is my understanding that they had offered the city a $50,000 fee and donate the building, with the asbestos investigation and abatement coming out of the $50,000. My understanding is that the costs of the inspections and abatements are expected to exceed that $50,000 by a small amount. Tri-Valley has accepted that they would cover that cost. Again, this is just a resolution by the council so that we may take possession of it, and we will be taking possession of it without the asbestos, with the asbestos already abated.
further discussion? Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Alt. Aye. Plot.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.03 is a resolution updating Jeff Schuberg's employment contract regarding time earned.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve this
I'll make that
resolution?
motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Henry. Discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor, members of the council, upon review with finance and HR, it was included, I had actually included in the packet. Apparently my contract, it slipped by everyone. We knew that we were using a previous contract version from a previous administrator, and efforts were made to clear that out. However, paragraph 5 identifies that upon the beginning of my employment, that I would accrue vacation at a 6-year seniority level, which was what Patty Hemmenover, the search consultant, had conveyed, with an 80-hour preload. The 80-hour preload, however, is listed in paragraph 7, but paragraph 7 then continues on with a contradictory statement that states that I accrue at the 1-year seniority rate for the first year and then move to the 6-year point. My question is, it's not appropriate for me to make a determination on language that affects me, and I would just ask guidance from the council as to which direction was the intent.
I think the intent was what Patty conveyed to you in the initial offer, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it before the council for clarification, because it's not appropriate for me to make a determination.
And so just so the council is aware, that is the resolution in front of you, and so that's what you would be voting on, is that, what he has just described. So that is what this resolution states in there.
So, yeah, so it goes from 6.66 hours per month to, occurs 10 hours, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
right, Ashley?
Yep, right on here. So
Okay.
it would accrue at 10 hours per month in accordance with the employee personnel. So we would update that and have him sign, so, for your approval.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hima,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Alt. Aye. Clock.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.04 is a resolution to approve the Small Cities Development Program Rehabilitation Loan for Local Income for Building Vision Crookston LLC doing business as Opticare.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Henry. Discussion. Anything to add, Jeff?
My understanding, this project's been discussed previously. It was on hold for some time. It is now moving forward. Anyone who's noted has probably seen Opticare is getting a new roof. So this is the final action.
Did this go to the committee for the discussion?
This was at Planning Commission.
Yes, it
If
was
it's
at-
in the resolution, let me just pull it up. So yes, the Tri-Valley Opportunity, let's see. Don't know. Deferred. Loan application.
I think it came from,
Greg, are you aware, did it go?
I don't believe.
Not this one?
It went before the planning, but I believe.
Well,
I think it went in front of the EDA.
it was EDA
Oh,
and
it
then
is.
and then it
It
came.
was the.
And
the
then-
small business, but doesn't the small business development go to that, what's the committee I'm thinking of that I'm a part of?
The IRP.
IRP. It did go in front of that? And is
I
it supposed,
I would defer to Ashley. I can't speak to this as it predates my arrival.
is this supposed to go to the IRP committee?
Again, I've been working with Corky, and again, I apologize. He's been the forefront runner on this, so I would have to do some more digging on this one.
Is this an IRP loan though?
No.
No, this is the interest that was made on the
Okay,
IRPs.
never
So that's why we stated in the resolution that it was for the local funds.
Okay.
That was, I know that it was part of the IRP process, but this is he wanted me to tell you that it's specific for the local funds, so.
Okay.
In order for us to move forward with the process to do this new Small Cities Development Grant that we were awarded, so.
All right,
Is this the first loan? My understanding was if there was another loan because of leakage of the roof, that they applied for this loan?
This was part of it.
Oh, it was part of it?
Yeah, that I remember at EDA meeting.
That's right.
This came recommended from the EDA.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know there's a pool, so there'll be maybe a couple more that will be coming down the way, but again, this is again for the local funds that were part of the interest that was accrued on the
But with
IRP.
a small cities development program, none of this has to go to the planning, does it?
I don't believe so, no, sir.
Again, I would have to look into that, but I can
Okay.
definitely do that for you. Not
I mean,
for the
if we're
IRP.
not sure, should we,
Well, this,
So I know that this is for the local funds, and again, I know that Corky had expressed to me multiple times, and that's why I had to put it in the resolution title, so
Okay.
that you guys were made aware that this was for the local funds. So to me, that would, again, if you're unsure, I can definitely look into it. Unfortunately, he's not here to
And
be
I-
able to
I
reference
could
it.
be wrong on this, but I think that there was a discussion on, do these funds go back to the EDA to distribute, or do they stay with the city? And it was decided that these funds stayed with the city.
Jason appears to,
I could speak to that.
please.
Yes.
Please do.
Wanna come up?
I was gonna say, I remember this conversation, but it's been a
I
little
just
while
know
ago.
that.
The city is holding the funds and you are contracted with Tri-Valley, so we're actually working with Corky directly. These are local funds that were generated from the last Small Cities Development Grant.
okay,
So these have to be spent down before we start working on the new project. So that's why there was a lot of talk to get all this reset a while back. That's what Councilman Hibman is referring to. And I know Corky's been through the rules because we're responsible, so I've checked on this. He's checked with the deed office and made sure that everything is according to Hoyle. And You know, the thing is now he's out there, judging eligibility. He's got a couple other projects that'll come before you to make sure all the monies, get expended. He's feeling like that can hopefully be done in the next, month or two.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
And just to continue with Jason, we have to spend those down by the end of the year. And the next agenda item is a similar item where we're spending those funds down to become eligible
Okay.
for the new program.
Okay, further discussion. Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Alt,
Aye.
Plot.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.05 is a resolution to approve the Small Cities Development Program Rehabilitation Loan for Local Income for Real Good Bath and Body LLC.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Got Clayton and Dawn. Thank you. Discussion.
Yes. Mayor, members of council, again, this is from the same fund. This is for Real Good Bath and Body LLC. They're completing work that's stabilizing a south exterior wall, which will include regrouting and brick repair. The sum, if my memory serves correctly, was about 38,000, is that correct? Ashley?
400, yeah, 38,000, I think, 400, let me just double check.
And again, this
Yes.
is spending down the funds so that we're eligible, for eligible spending down the funds on eligible projects so that we're eligible to continue with a new grant moving
Okay.
forward.
So again, that was $38,400.
All right, thank you. Further discussion. Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Alt,
Aye.
Plot.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.06 is a resolution regarding the letter of intent with respect to the Minnesota Department of Transportation, MnDOT, Active Transportation Program Grant.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Your Honor.
Got Henry and Delane. Thank you. Discussion.
As mayor, members of the council, this project, it's a pathways project. It adds pathways for residents to travel more easily between points within the city, primarily between points of interest such as between residences and shopping and residences and employment. The vision brought forth from the EDA is to concentrate on residences to jobs in the industrial park area and region. And this is a zero match grant, so we would not be on the hook for any, it's one of those rare items that we are not on the hook for any matching funds.
My understanding, part of this grant, they're looking to extend, kind of the walking bike trail from Fairfax out to Ampride and then follow down Old 75. Like Riverview, Stencils, and connect with that sidewalk. So it'd be one continuous loop to move around the city. So further discussion? Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Alt,
Aye.
Plot.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.07 is removed item 6.08 from the consent agenda. A resolution regarding approving the garbage hauling license for countrywide sanitation and waste management.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution? Thank you. Got Delane and Dawn. Thank you. Discussion.
So the question that I have is this renewing an existing license that they already have to operate within the city, or is this?
No, sir, this is a new license. Regional sanitation is going out of business and waste management is taking over many of their commercial customers. And to operate in the city, they need a license. So last week, Ashley and I were informed that they were taking over, and so we wanted to bring that forward to council so that they can
So
come into
waste management
compliance.
is taking over regional sanitations?
Countrywide is taking over a significant portion, and I believe waste management is they're planning on.
So this is just for the commercial, it's not residential. So in our ordinance, we have, any garbage hauling entity that comes through has to have a license through the city of Crookston. And that, what this resolution is, again, with that, business no longer being here. It was brought to our attention that these two entities was going to be coming into the city, so.
All right, thank you.
So they made application for those.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Hibma. Fisher. Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Alt. Plot.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. This brings us to reports. Jeff, please.
And Mayor, members of the council, you have my report, written report, just as an added item. Or not an added item, just to reiterate, the airport taxiway project is looking to begin this week, with dirt work. They're gonna be doing the dirt work for the added taxiways. They will not be doing asphalt until the spring. They're gonna allow, set up the dirt, let it settle, go through a freeze thaw cycle so that it's more stable for spring work. And the AWAS, the Weather Observation Station, that we had previously accepted a grant for 100% funding from MnDOT. It is on the state list. Unfortunately, we are at their mercy for timing. The state is telling us that it's gonna be this fall, but as we move further into cold weather, the engineer consultant that we have has told us, although they're telling us this fall, likely it's going to be next spring, for the new AWAS system. Within the written report were two department reports for Public Works and Building. They are here if you have any questions in addition.
Thank you.
And I apologize for being hoarse. I spent 3 hours, on a more lighter note, I spent 3 hours screaming at my television between 2:30 and 5:30 this Saturday, because our coach did not do well.
That's too bad.
Okay, Shane, anything tonight?
No report, sir.
Thank you. Brandon?
No report.
Greg?
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Jake?
Just a quick update on the pool. We did open today. We are doing a fire watchman. I have a list of volunteers. I've sat down with chief and we discussed it. We're following all protocols, so we are open from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday until our motherboard comes in for the new fire system. So that will come in mid-November. So that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Darren, anything tonight?
No report tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Kian?
Evening, everybody. Just a couple of quick things here. Over the past couple of months here, I've been working with UMC's marketing research class to assist them with their semester-long project for marketing research. Overall, they are doing a project that's overseeing better ways to improve the city's communication as well as the websites, and I'm really excited to be able to see some of their outsider perspective on different ways that the city could be improving in these areas. Just not too long ago, I was in very similar classes, and I know that they really worked their butt off on those, and I'm really excited to see what they put together for that. I'm in the beginning stages of conversating with Carrie and Taylor over at the EDA about different marketing plans for 2025, essentially just laying out key priorities and where we want to go for next year. And as I have more updates on that, I'll make sure to report them to you. And then just while I'm up here, just want to give a quick shout out to Empower Crookston. I've had the pleasure since I've been here to be a part of their meetings every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. at Jolt and Jive, and we've been able to get a really great group together that have put together some really great things since I've been here. Just a couple of those things, we've taken over for like the King of Trails citywide garage sales. We've had the Meet the Candidate Forum, the Wednesday on the Water events. All those things have started in conversation with Joel and Jive, and just want to, for anybody that's listening, that's an open meeting every Thursday at 8 a.m. I know that that's a tight time constraint for anyone that works the traditional 9 to 5, and I think there was some conversation about moving that around a little bit here and there, but just as a reminder to the council that that's always an open meeting. We always appreciate when council members are there, and just wanted to give a shout out to Empower Crookston, and that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chuck, anything?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Let's see if it opens up here. Yeah, just, crews are out there working on storm damage and cleanup. It's been going on for a while. We keep finding more and more trees that are down. Taking care of those, people calling in about their possibly diseased trees, we're looking into those. Fall cleanup schedule, that's gonna take place October 21st through the 25th. I'll be joining the crew this year. We are down a man, so if you need me, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Email, text, I'll have my phone on me. Yard waste pickup is set for October 28th. We anticipate that just being one day, Monday. We are still waiting for an updated quote from the supplier for the pneumatic arm, bins, and to help us with the garbage bin service. And I finished typing up a request for proposal for the residential contracted garbage services. Jeff is reviewing that. We'll get some finalized dates before we go out with that and everything. 2025 street project planning, Brandon and I have been meeting with AE2S to discuss preliminary plans for the 2025 street projects. We aim to have some initial cost estimates and project locations to present at hopefully the next council meeting. They're waiting to hear back from some core sampling, and we're looking into what type of utilities are currently underground in those optimal locations as well. So, any questions?
All right, thank you, Chuck.
Yeah.
Anything tonight, Holly?
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Start with Morgan, anything tonight?
Not much. I did go to the Inclusive Playground grand opening on Saturday to their Pancakes and Play. I would just like to congratulate the school and the committee that helped put that together. If you guys haven't been out there, it's really amazing. It's really fun. We went again on Sunday to play on it. So highly recommend people checking that out. It's a really cool addition to our community, so.
Great, thank you. Henry?
Went out to the UMC homecoming out at the CSC on Saturday. That was a good time. They had blow up things for the kids to play in, had live music and all of that stuff. It was a really good event, liked it a lot. The only suggestion is maybe non-alcoholic beverages available outside. It was only alcoholic. I mean, Drafts was producing it, so they were vending for that, but if we could just get some pop or waters, it'd be great.
Great, thank you. Clayton?
Nothing to report tonight, Your Honor.
Don?
I just have a couple things here. The Crookston Chamber office is now staffed and has issued a plan for the future, and you'll be hearing more about that in the future, so I'll bring some more information when they get the plan overall.
So they have a director or not?
Board director, there's 4 people that are being manage it, so right now, so not directors, but people that have the interest to keep it going.
So is there set hours or just random?
That's random.
Okay, all right.
And then I have a question for the council about signs, campaign signs on the boulevards. Is that legal or not? I've been asked many times, people said some people are putting, campaign signs on my boulevard that, over past the sidewalk. And I said, well, I'll check with the city on that because.
My understanding is they have to be, on the inner part of the sidewalk.
Has to be on private property.
Pardon?
Private property.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure because,
If anybody has any concerns at all about their election signs, they can call me at City Hall, and I would be more than happy to help anybody.
I was just gonna say what Ashley was saying. If there's concerns, go ahead, give us a call. Somebody will go out there, inspect it. We'll use Polk County GIS, find their property lines, measure it up, and remove the sign or put it
there's
back.
quite a few around the city that, there's quite a few in Ward 4 that.
Okay. Give me a jingle or shoot me an email, let me know, and I'll go and inspect, look them all up.
These are people that don't want signs, that are just having people randomly put signs out?
They don't want
Well,
signs on
I
their
think it's just
boulevards.
like on the like, it might be in front of that person's home,
Uh-huh.
but it's on the boulevard side and they don't want it that close to the street.
I
They
mean,
just
that's
want
fair.
them to put it
Yeah,
back.
that's-
So yeah, if anybody has any concerns at all, call us at City Hall and we'll help you, help
Yeah,
them.
Okay, I'll get a hold of you.
They're not supposed to be on the boulevard.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah.
Wendy?
I also went to the pancakes and play and it was awesome. We had a lot of fun there, so good job to the school and everybody who had a part of that. Amazing.
Thank you. Dwayne?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the only other thing that I would have is I would like to introduce our new Human Resources Coordinator. She started 2 weeks ago today.
Come on.
Tiana, you'd like to come up and say hello? While she's making the way, I just wanna say she is really, she's only been here for 2 weeks, but she's already made a great impact in HR, the office, and she's really picking up our processes quickly.
What's your last name?
Hi, my name is Tiana Rendon, and I'm thrilled for the opportunity to work for the city of Crookston as an HR coordinator, and look forward to serving the community. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for not relocating to the cities. Her previous company was offered her a relocation package to the cities.
Okay, thank you. I just got a couple things. I went to meet candidate forum. I don't know, it's kinda nice to have a week off from nothing down here, so I'm kinda getting the weeks mixed up, but I went to meet candidate forum. There was fair turnout. It's good to hear what everybody has to say. Also, I attended that, I can never think of the name, that, big 17, 20-foot canoes, whatever they had in the park. It was a good turnout. I was expecting more, but it was a very, very windy day. The only consolation, it kept the flies away, so all in all, it was good. But also, I'd like to thank Jason and Tri-Valley for working with us on your, old existing building. It's much appreciated that you were willing to work with us on that, and so thank you. That's all I have. Just a reminder, we do have a budget meeting following council tonight, so nothing else coming before council. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Workshop meeting to order for Monday, October 14th, 2024. We got two items on the agenda. One is cannabis discussion and the other is presentation of financial position. So, start with cannabis. What do you have for us?
Ashley had asked that we bring this forward just to get council direction, general direction, not necessarily specific in where you'd like us to start investigating. The state statute coming forward requires us to issue a license based on our population. Based on our population, we are allowed to have a municipal cannabis store. In addition, we are also, based on population, required to issue another license to a retail establishment.
I have a question on that. I'm sure that it'll end up here, but my understanding is if there's X amount per our county also for population. So if, let's say, somebody opened up 2 or 3 in a different part of the county, then the licensing, we would not have, I'm not saying that we wouldn't. But we wouldn't have to put one here.
I'm not 100% on that, but I do know that there are multi-tiered licensing.
There was something I just remember of like the city this, but like if the county had maxed out.
Yeah, and the I'll have to ask Tanner for clarification. I know the county is also required to issue based on population, and I don't know if those are two different pools or a similar or same pool. I'll have to ask Tanner for clarification on that. The prime question is, does the council wish to pursue a municipal store? The reason this is coming forward, and perhaps we might rearrange, we don't need an immediate decision, but we wanted to bring it forward.
Is there such a thing as somebody putting together a business plan for a municipal?
There is, and we would have to go out with a consultant to get that. My understanding from Tanner is that Corky, Ashley and Tanner had been looking into it prior. And the initial setup cost is in the 2 to 3 million range to set up the store, to get and to put everything in place to move forward. The issuance of the license directly allows us to get an override on the state tax. We're not allowed to tax any additional, but we get 8% of what the state collects to the city as part of a coffer. So basically the direction is, does the council want us to pursue
I'd like to know.
a consultant?
I'd like to know what the return on investment might possibly be, and, I mean, it's probably a huge setup cost, but if we can recoup that in a matter of some years, it might be worth it. It might be some good revenue for the city that we don't currently have.
So I will.
So they kind of figure in, I suppose you're looking at, I don't know, at least 2 full-time employees.
Right, I mean, I heard some contradictory stuff in like Colorado. Some places are doing well, some places are going bust, and I'm just wondering.
Well, I mean, I think that's how saturated a market can get.
Yeah,
I think that's more market saturation than it is.
Yeah, Pinellas County, Florida was one of the pioneering counties in Florida several years ago when Florida legalized the dispensaries. And it's an immediate boom. And then as Henry said, more and more actors come into play, you end up in very tight competition.
So we in the city of Crookston, based on our population, we're allowed 2 licenses?
1.
So the city,
The municipal. The municipal is separate from the other
Municipal would
one.
be separate from the private.
They changed those rules after the first time we looked at it. So how it states is our city, based on population, may or may not based on county and who else opens up in the county, has to offer a license. Now, we can't say, well, we have a municipal one, now you can't open one, but they are saying you have to get one and you could open a municipal and then you could deny any other licenses.
So if we don't open a municipal, does that mean we gotta we have to give two licenses?
Nope, we only have to give one based on population.
Okay.
But we could open a municipal outside of that license, so then there would be two, us and
Gotcha,
ABC.
right.
Okay.
Okay,
So I think it'd be a good idea to see
Check it out.
what our
Doesn't hurt to
return would
look.
be over X amount of years on it.
I mean, that's one thing that the city doesn't have. A lot of cities have municipal liquor stores. You know, we don't, so I think this might be something to generate some revenue.
Yeah, so we will move forward in researching consultants to pull out possible returns, costs, and processes. I believe Ashley already has a few in a Rolodex that other cities have worked with in the past.
Okay, everybody, consensus, just move ahead and,
let's do it.
I think so.
Let's go forward.
okay. Now, moving on, presentation of financial position.
We still can't make it go the other way, huh, Keenan?
Could I get a copy of this sent to me?
What's that?
This presentation, could I get a copy of it sent to me?
Let's.
Or to us, I guess?
Want to share?
Yes, please, I'm sending it out. Please do not return email. If you do, make sure that you reply single. You should have it momentarily, sir. I'll come up here because some of this is gonna involve me pointing. And so what I've put together is it's a slide presentation that it outlines our current financial structure. It describes our comes-ins, our goes-outs, sources, and some comparisons. Next, please. We're gonna talk about current conditions, our upcoming major projects. As much as we, our nearest comparable city is East Grand Forks, and I'll get into how we're similar and how we're different. The history of how we got to where we are, and then some discussion. The goal for tonight, I want the city council to, whether tonight or in the near future at the next meeting, be able to give me some direction as to how we want to proceed financially, both this year and into the future, because we've got some very difficult decisions ahead of us. So our current conditions, our 24 budget expense was $11 million. Our LGA was $4,505,000. Our 25 LGA only went up by 6,000 because we're in an off-cycle year, so they didn't make any major changes to that. Our tax levy for 2024 was $3.5 million. That was 68.6% of our tax capacity, which was $5.1 million. Our 24 LGA plus tax levy is $8.2 million in revenue from those sources coming in against that $11 million in expenses made up by other revenue sources that we've talked about through the budget process. Our total fund balances as of the end of the 23 audit is $10,700,000. Next. Out of that $10,700,000, $222,000 of it is non-spendable. $5.2 million is legally restricted. $3.6 million of that is levy funds that are restricted for the levy. We've got just shy of $1.7 million committed to projects. We've got $2.4 million assigned to various funds. We have $1.1 million unassigned. That's money that is that's sitting there available to spend, that we've not predetermined the spending limit. That being said, that's where our fund balances are sitting. Our upcoming major projects, Chuck's department, we've got road infrastructure, we've got 9.4 miles of category 4 or 5, which is considered a critical need. The estimate, that's going to be in the next 1 to 3 years. I would recommend sooner rather than later. The estimate on that, because the current condition of the roads, Chuck and I have determined and Brandon have discussed, we anticipate needing full reconstruction with full utilities underneath. With those needs, we're looking at about $2 million a mile. If we put 9.4 miles at roughly $18 million. Following that, we've got 20 miles of category 3, that's maintenance need. We're at the 3 to 10 year horizon, but we're looking at about $35 million. Some of that will involve full reconstruct, some of it will not. The Valley Tech Park roof is 26 years old. Quotes on that have been around $400,000 mark. The library roof, which has been put off the last couple of years, is sitting at about $250,000. The Red River Valley Shows building, the grant that we had spoken about earlier, where we did the rezoning. We had applied for a $1.65 million grant. It was a $3.3 million project, 1.65 grant. It came back at 1.44. So that 1.65 match has now become 1.8. This is why we're trying to get the $2 million in abatement. We're trying our best to get that property in our folio so that we can get qualified for that federal asbestos grant. It is a zero match grant because our match on that is now 1.8 million instead of 1.65 based on the reduced grant amount that was awarded. We have our industrial park infrastructure, it's a $6.6 million project with a $3.3 million match. Currently, EDA is looking to do a BEAD grant for half of the match at 1.65 so that we can offset some of that. These are the top of mind major projects we have coming up. As an example, I use that $18 million for the 9 miles. A 20-year bond, right now Ellis has identified the current bond rate for the municipal bonds between 3.9 and 4.1%. At a 4% 20-year bond, the annual payment is $1.32 million. Out of that payment, 30% will come from the water fund, 30% wastewater, 30% according to our special assessment policy, which would leave $132,000 that would be tax levy obligated. These are example numbers. They're not The water wastewater percentages is going to depend on how much of the total project is related to those amounts. If we do full reconstruct with full infrastructure, that's pretty close. If we already have plastic piping underneath some segments, it's gonna be less. That means that the wastewater and water contribution to the bond would be percentage markedly less as well. So as an estimate, that 18 million bond, about 10% of that is gonna be a tax levy hit. So that's 132,000. As we've noted, 1% of our tax levy is $48,000, so this is about 2.5%. A 2.5% bump for this bond, even with the enterprise funds covering the vast majority of the payment. Next. Now, when I looked at this, I said, I wanted to look at what amenities do we provide to our residents, and what are the costs of those. And I looked over to East Grand Forks. We have a population of about 7,400, East Grand Forks is about 9,200. Roughly a 20% difference. We have 22 parks, and all 22 of our parks have playground equipment in them. East Grand Forks has 15 parks with 12 parks that have playground equipment in them. We have 3 sheets of ice under 1 roof. They have 3 sheets of ice under 3 roofs. We have an indoor competition pool. They have an outdoor recreational pool. The difference between that, between the 2 styles, while their pool is only open 3 months out of the year, they make $90,000 in revenue from that pool. Because people want to come and visit. It's an outdoor pool, they want to come and visit, they've got slides, it's an odd shape, it's not a square thing. It has all of the amenities and a nice deck around it. People go and they visit it.
We lose 300 and some thousand on ours.
Ours costs about $300,000 a year to run, and we make about $27,000 in revenue. Theirs costs about $150,000 to $160,000. They're about $60,000 is what their pool costs now. It is smaller, and it's only open part of the year, but it is a much lower cost.
So
with much higher use.
Their revenue is 90,000
Yes, sir.
and their cost is what?
About 150.
So they're not,
it doesn't pay for itself, but as an amenity, it costs them significantly less to keep it open.
right?
And because it is a newer facility built for recreation, it's more enjoyable, it attracts more people than our competition pool. It would be very difficult for us to transition a big 600,000 gallon rectangle of water into a recreational pool. Full-time law enforcement officers, we have 18, they have 24, but our call volume is higher than theirs. So roughly equivalent to some extent. Professional firefighters, we have 6 professional firefighters, they have 7. So we are very comparable.
Are we currently fully staffed fire department?
We are. So now is where one of the big differences comes in. Our tax capacity is $4.8 million. East Grand Forks tax capacity is 9.9. They've got 20% more people and double our tax capacity. To put that into perspective, I did the math. Per capita, Crookston residents pay $475 a year based on 7,400 people. East Grand Forks pays $753 a year for very similar amenities.
And they're paying that through their levies?
That is directly off of the levy. That does not include, that is our levy versus their levy. It does not include the LGA or other revenue streams. That's strictly the levy. We'll get, as we move forward, we'll see some of the other.
So why, and I know you can't speak to what happened last year, but last year we had the truth in taxation meeting and people were coming in claiming we were so much higher than cities around our area.
If you'll bear with me, sir, the next few slides, we'll be going over that.
Okay.
Next slide, please. This is a comparison of revenue potential. This is our the orange line is East Grand Forks tax capacity, the blue line is Crookston. You'll notice since 2012, East Grand Forks has been steadily climbing. That's their tax capacity, not their tax rate. You'll notice since 2011, both in 2011 took a downturn because the economy, if we remember back, that was a very rough year. But starting from 2012, ours has been up and down and up and down and up and up and down. It's been a little bit all over the place. Our LGA is where we make up some of our difference, primarily because 32% of or 31% of our housing stock is pre-1940. Only 12% of East Grand Forks is pre-1940. 1997, a flood came through. The city here fought very hard and protected our city. East Grand Forks lost a lot of their city and a lot of their housing during that flood, and they were forced to rebuild. Now, part of that, 17% of the LGA formula is pre-1940 housing. So we gain some of that difference back, but the difference is $5 million in tax capacity. The difference in LGA is 2. So we're getting 2 million more, but we're losing out on the additional from the tax capacity. And you'll note that both of the LG lines are close to a mirror of each other. They're not very different, particularly right up until 2023. They're very similar. Next slide, please. Comparison of actual revenue. Up until 2014, 2015, we were very comparable. We had a $1.5 million levy. They had a $2.8 million levy. Fairly comparable, and we'll see that our lines for tax levies mirror each other pretty well. In 2015, East Grand Forks said, we can't do this anymore, we can't pay for it, so they started raising their tax levy, and they've consistently done so. Their tax levy is now close to $7 million. 2 years ago, Councilmember Delane, as you mentioned, 2 years ago, we started rising. And this is where we're gonna start talking about the rates, where people said other people aren't paying. In 2010, we were about 1% higher than East Grand Forks in our tax rate. In 2012, our tax rate was about 67%, and in 2013, we went to 68.5%. East Grand Forks went from 52, 53% up to 60. Both of us, in these general timeframes, started lowering our tax rates in the 13, 14, 15 timeframes. 2015, again, East Grand Forks raised their rates. Ours kind of bounces around. In a few minutes, I'll go over some of the dynamics of where our tax rates have been bouncing. But the short answer is, East Grand Forks, over time, has increased their tax levy. They've minimized the year-over-year impacts to their residents. Unfortunately, we have been minimizing for many years our increases. So we've not kept up with inflation and others, and we'll see that in just a moment. As we stand right now, our rates have gone up. In 2023, our rate was 64% of tax capacity. Our tax capacity in '23 was right at $5 million. In 2023, East Grand Forks tax capacity was close to, it was 9 million and some change, and their tax rate was 75%. They're taking a bigger slice out of a much bigger pie. Next slide. Comparison of revenue. This is LGA plus the tax levy. The blue line is Crookston, the orange line is East Grand Forks, and again, I'd just like to point out, they're only 18 to 20% population difference, but their revenues are double. We're sitting at 6 million, they're sitting at 10 million. 8 million total revenue, they're sitting at 10 million. Now we're gonna hit one of the items that makes them very different from us. In this revenue stream that caused $10 million, there's $2 million that the city of East Grand Forks gets from their electric revenue. 1.5 million is a direct payment to the city coffers. The other $500,000 is positions and expenses the city charges off to their electric utility. So not only do they have double our tax capacity, they also have an extra $2 million that they can throw at amenities for the residents.
How do they do that?
Pardon?
How do they do that?
They own
They're electric.
and out of the rates that they collect from them, they buy wholesale power and they sell it. It goes on the utility bill just like we have a water bill, just like sewer, water. They have another line item that's electric.
Yeah.
And from that revenue, from the difference from what they pay for it to what they collect, they pay wholesale electric and they sell retail, and that difference allows them to subsidize their city operations by about $2 million a year. And this is the line of the difference. It's about a $4 million difference in total revenue, and $2 million of that is electric utility. Next slide, please. Now, how we got here, next. Our tax capacity, again, starting in 2010, was $3 million. 11 and 12, we dropped, and then it started climbing slowly. We've had a few years of drops. Overall, we've had 5 years of true drops in tax capacity, not counting inflation. If you count inflation, 8 out of 15 years has been a drop in capacity. What has been, when our tax capacity dropped, our tax rate naturally climbed because we had to pay our bills. We had to levy the dollars that we needed to pay the bills. And then, as soon as our tax capacity started going up, the council at that point, it's almost a mirror image. They dropped the tax rate as the capacity was going up. As home values were going up, we lowered our rate to maintain the levy. To put this into perspective, this graph here is the consumer price index from 2010 to 2023 for the Grand Forks metropolitan statistic area. This is from Bureau of Labor Statistics. The dotted line here is a rough estimate of the slope of that increase. Our tax levy, the dotted line again, the solid line is our actual tax levy. The dotted line is the rough slope of that levy. You'll notice that this line is much steeper than this line. That means that even though we have had some incremental increases in our levy, we've not kept up with inflation for the last 15 years. So we are 15 years absorbing inflation. Next, please. What that's done to us. I shortened the time frame on this a little bit. This is from 2020 to 2024. 24 is estimated based on the budget. This is our cash position.
In 2020, our cash position went down about 1.1 million. That means more money went out than what came in. In 21, about 1.5 million came in more than what went out. $410,000 of that was ARPA funds. So we had a $410,000 windfall. Without that, we roughly replaced what we took out the previous year. And then we carried that 410 forward. Unfortunately, that's the last of the good news. In 2022, we pulled $2.3 million out of our reserves. In 2023, we pulled another $1.6 million. In 2024, we're budgeted to pull another $604,000 out of our reserves. During these years, no money has been put into reserves for future capital expenses. We do not regularly contribute, but in the budget, to capital expenses. We've budgeted them year by department request, and we pull from the reserves. As a result, we've had a decrease in cash position from 2020 to 24 of $4.1 million. If we had not gotten that windfall from ARPA, it would have been 4.5. Next slide. This is where we're going into a very gray area, and I promised Lance that I'm going to make very clear, this is a gray area. These are not scientific die-hard numbers. This is a rough guideline. The numbers that we've been talking about thus far are straight off of the audit sheets or straight out of the budget documents. These numbers are also out of the audit sheets, but these are in a fuzzier area of accounting.
Unknown caller.
In 2020, the city's net position was $59.5 million. In 2021, it was about $60 million. Almost dead on, it was 59.9. In 2022, we dropped down to just over 58 million. In 2023, we're at 58.1 million. Again, this is not hard numbers. What the net position is a total of everything that we have. It's all of our sewer lines, all of our water lines, this building, all of the trucks, all of the vehicles we own, the police station, everything that the city owns, plus its cash balances, minus depreciation, minus the pension, the pension liability. That's the big fuzzy factor. That's the biggest fuzzy factor.
Do you know what the biggest contributor was from 2021 to 2022 on our loss of our net position?
Depreciation primarily. We didn't put a lot of money into capital projects. When you spend money, like when we rebuild a road, when we rebuild the infrastructure, those dollars are accounted for in capital funds. They're part of the unspendable because we can't spend a water pipe. So as we replace that, the depreciated value falls off of the books and the new value goes into the books. So therefore, if we've got a water pipe that is depreciated over 50 years, but it's 80 years old, it has a zero value, then we put a new one in, the value of that new one gets added to our net position. General guideline, you want your net position to either stay flat or increase. That means that you're healthy, it means you're putting money into the things that need to be fixed, it means you're maintaining all of your facilities, your equipment, you're replacing things when they need to be. With our net position decreasing like this, again, part of that is that pension liability. About 400,000 of it is pension liability. And we can change that with just a quick, the state says you're gonna use this formula instead of that formula. We perceive that in the future it's gonna go up 3% instead of 2%. And that's gonna swing wildly what that pension liability is. So that's the most volatile component
of this, because it's always a negative number. I've never seen a positive one. I'm sure someone has a positive pension liability, but in today's world, I've never seen one. So what this tells us in general is, in spite of the money that we have put towards capital, we've not kept up with the depreciation. Now, depreciation doesn't necessarily say it's useless when the depreciation goes down. Anyone who's done their taxes knows that. You depreciate a house over 27.5 years on your tax if you have investment properties. Well, everybody knows that a 28-year-old house still has a lot of value to it. But it's an accounting tool. It tells us, it gives us an idea where we are. Now, if we go back to the previous. So that's kind of where we are. And the goal for tonight and the discussion that I want to have tonight is, what direction does this council want staff and I to move towards? I don't believe that we can continue being all things to all residents as much as we want to. The truth of the matter is, we can't afford it without astronomical increases in our taxes. And that's not something that I want to advocate for. So, next slide. Top of mind, these are a few of the items. And again, we can't afford to be all things to all people any longer, as much as we would want to be. Some of the cost saving measures that we can make so that we can start contributing where we need to be, we can save $220,000 a year with the pool. This year, workers' comp rates are decreasing from the Minnesota cities, we can save $60,000 to $75,000. Uranium utilities, if we go from 3 sheets of ice down to 1, or I'm sorry, not 1, down to 2, as previously discussed, with having one of the rinks being the recreational area, we would have some costs, but we would save in that, but we would save about $10,000 a year in utilities. But we are at a crossroads where a lot of our roads, water, sewer infrastructure are going to require us to put money into it. And unfortunately, because we've drawn down a lot of our savings over the last 5 to 8 to 10 years or longer, I only went back to 5 years because I wanted to show the most recent and where we are currently. So the discussion, next slide. And that's pretty much where I wanted to give the council a picture of where we are, a brief idea of how we got there, and a thought, and I am open for ideas, discussion, and what direction does this council have?
One of the things just top of mind here, I mean, the pool is, you're getting pushback on the pool.
Yes, sir.
But if we go down from 3 sheets of ice to 2, at the pool discussion would look like a pretty minor deal.
My question also on going down to 2 sheets, that would be allowing us to put the turf down in that third one and then potentially find ways to get revenue through that.
Right. But I know, I mean, when we the city worked very, very hard to get 3 sheets of ice in that community center, and it's just, I just can't see cutting a sheet of ice.
Was being sold as just not strictly hockey.
I think you said it right there though, right? 3 sheets of ice in a community center, it's not a community center right now. If you're not doing something with ice, it's not a place for you to be able to use right now in the winter. Now, if we do need, I think we need to also, before we go there, look and are we using all 3 sheets? Could schedules be moved around to be able to use 2? But I don't wanna cut programs that are being used on ice, right? Like, I don't wanna cut that out of something that we have
Well, with
because it
the-
is such a culture, you know, it is so much of
I
our
mean,
culture.
I think with the college, using it quite a bit now with their program and then all of our different age levels, I think, yeah,
The numbers across the board for hockey and figure skating are down. It's not like it was when it first opened up. I mean, the last few years I was involved out there with the youth center or the youth program. You could walk through that building on a Saturday and Sunday and you probably had 2 sheets of ice that nobody was on.
Discussions with Jake have identified
well,
that.
before, I mean, I'd like to see if we chose to go down that route, what the current schedules would look like if we got rid of that 3rd sheet of ice and how the schedules would look for everybody involved, you know? I'd like to see, well, we'd have to push some practices till at 6 in the morning for the youth and some people would be practicing at 10 at night. I mean, that's the type of things I would wanna
But I mean, for how long did we operate with 2 sheets of ice with way more kids in hockey?
right.
Like, and figure skating, we operated with 2 sheets of ice and it worked for a very long time, and we're losing kids.
And here's my thing, and again, without looking at it, like just from what I viewed, so my husband did curling last year, so we would go and watch and we would play, right? So there was the curling sheet being used, and it was at the same time as hockey and learn to skate and everything on Wednesday, right? And all of the hockey was on one sheet. Then there was curling for, I think they did it for 4 to 6 weeks on that other one. And there was, when we were there, they had figure skating in the beginning, but by the time we left, there was only 1 sheet of ice being used, and that was all of the hockey, right? It was all on 1 sheet. And then there was 2 sheets of ice sitting empty. Now, there was the one with curling being used, which is great. I think it's fantastic. I love that they were doing stuff like that, and UMC did that. Not trying to cut if it's being used, but just from somebody observing it, I was there, and for only maybe 30 minutes of that entire 2.5 hours that I was there, were all 3 sheets of ice being used. Again, I don't wanna cut programs, I don't want to interfere with that, right? Like, I don't wanna be pushing stuff till 6 in the morning or in the middle of the day. But if we do look at it and we're saying, okay, maybe we have stuff on Thursdays, cause nothing's happening on Thursdays. Just without, to your point, I think we need to look at schedules, like, could it be used?
Needs to be looked at.
I guess even back in the day when I played, we had 1 sheet of ice. We had 2 high school teams and a college team. We had an in-house league and we had a traveling league.
I mean, we
Don't have that anymore.
there was a lot of pressure to get 3 sheets of ice. We cut our seating so we couldn't host section tournaments to have the 3rd sheet of ice.
Well, we're hosting girls sections now.
Right.
Yep. But
I think looking at the schedules, and the only reason I bring up like other forms of revenue, like I've talked to people, like I drive to Grand Forks every Saturday morning. So my kid can have 45 minutes to tumble on some stuff, because in the winter, I need to do that. I pay $50 a month for my kid to go tumble on something for 30 minutes. I would be happy to pay that here. Right? Again, there's like equipment, but it's really not that fancy. He's just running around and jumping on a mini trampoline and hanging on a little mini bar, right? But I know I'm not the only person
Right.
from this area doing that. Or I've talked to plenty of parents of me being like, I don't know what to do. And they're like, oh, we'll go over to Grand Forks because they have their indoor playground and it's nothing special and you have to pay again for it. And I'm just sitting there and I was like, I'm literally having to pay, and I'm luckily in a position that I can do that, right? Like, that's not something that everyone can here do. Again, I don't wanna advocate for shutting anything down, but if schedules allow it, I would support us trying to figure out another way to do the 2nd sheet of ice, or go down to 2. But I don't wanna cut in or close anything, like, if it is going to mess with the schedules, or make it inconvenient for people to be part of the youth, then I would say then that's not doable, but it's at least something to look at.
I think it's worth exploring.
The Park and Rec do that, right? Yeah, I think we should look at it and see what's happening.
We getting any, I would need, part of your slide presentation was regarding our streets, is Ellers or are they working on that as far as?
They are, Chuck and I, we're going over some of the maps today to identify some of the 4 or 5 areas, the critical need areas, to start planning out in the next year to begin working on some. Again, we've got 9 miles that are 4 or 5, which the 5s are all very critical, the 4s are highly critical, 3 being moderate maintenance items. The 4s and 5s are basically reconstruct.
Mill and overlay,
No, sir. Complete reconstruct.
the 4s and 5s?
4s and 5s are complete reconstruct, by estimation, including underground infrastructure.
So do we have to have, as far as the worst roads, do we have to, have numbers in place before we know what our bond rating is?
Generally speaking, yes.
Okay.
We would do a have the engineers do a feasibility study for the project. They would basically identify everything that needs to happen for the project, get a cost estimate, and then we could go begin the bond process, which would involve an S&P, or generally the last bonding I was an S&P ratings call with management. And
So I'm just wondering, do you get more bang for your buck? I mean, I guess it would be a conversation with Chuck and Brandon as far as our worst roads. I mean, how many blocks or miles are we looking at?
we have 9.4 miles that are considered critical, the 4s and 5s. I have 20.4 miles that are considered 3s.
And 3s consist of?
3s are considered acceptable, barring the need for underground utilities, mill and overlays generally, something that can be done at that point. Again, barring underground replacement requirements. Obviously, that is a lot cheaper than reconstruct. Reconstruct with full utilities runs about $2 million a mile. The last project that I did, which was in 22, I can only imagine it probably went up from that.
So I guess my question is it better off to do more than less? I mean,
Yes, because the mobilization costs are lower for the project overall. You can disperse mobilization over the project. More importantly is finding concentrated areas where you can do a lot of work in one area as opposed to a quarter mile here, a quarter mile there, and a quarter mile here.
cause the reason I say do more than less is that, material never goes down.
No, it does not.
It's,
Another benefit in doing wider areas, even if we incorporate a small section of mill and overlay for the 3, as an example, the 3 category, if we have 4 and 5s adjacent, one of the benefits that we can do is that allows us for future planning to create better phasing. If we piecemeal, we're stuck piecemealing the next time it comes up.
right.
If we do it's a section, some of it's reconstruct, some of it's mill and overlay, that entire section can now be phased for a 20-year lifespan. Whereas instead of just the pieces that we fixed or 20 years, 5 or 8 years from now, we go in and we do it 3 to 5 years, we come in and do a mill and overlay. Now we've got the equivalent of buying a spare tire after running 30,000 miles on a set. Now you got one brand new tire and you got three that are kind of wobbly. So, so by doing a greater section, it's a dual benefit. One, you get better economy of scale with mobilization costs, with cost per the larger quantities that you buy. Usually you can get some price discounts on some of that, not all of it. And again, an additional future benefit, you can better phase your future work the next time it needs to be done. So if you've done it, bill and overlay and reconstruct in 10, 15 years, when the next cycle comes along, you can just come through one fell swoop and you know what you have in that area. But the biggest question that we have, that staff and I have, is what is the guidance from council on, you know, what research would you like staff and I to do on potential cost-saving measures? There's one that I'm keeping in my back pocket because I do not want to go down that route, because I do not believe it's in the best interests of the city. If any council member wishes to discuss that individually, I am available, but I am not, we are not at that juncture yet. It's a nuclear hand grenade.
Well, you know, being on the council a few years, I just remember we would just, it seems like we would just randomly grab a levy number that everybody felt good with, and that's what we, instead of trying to listening to the departments of the needs and trying to build over the years, we would just, and I think we've corrected that over the past probably 2-3 years, but we haven't been armed with the correct information from our city finances to know what position we were really in at the time. So now it seems like we are getting that information, so I think we need to move forward and.
Yeah. One of the things, and Delane, one of the things that you had mentioned earlier and that I had brought up is no one likes increased taxes. But as an example, as I mentioned before, as I mentioned during the presentation, East Grand Forks has a $9.9 million tax capacity. They're double ours. They've got 20% more population than we have. And their tax rate in '23 was 9 points higher than ours.
I mean, that has to be, I mean, the values of the homes.
Oh, 100.
Well, but the tax capacity is the value of their homes.
Yeah.
But what my point is, they have a tax capacity of 9.9 million. Our tax rate was 68% of our tax capacity. We were taking 68% of 5 million. They're taking 75% of essentially 10 million. So they have a bigger pie and they're hacking off a much bigger slice of that pie as a percentage of that pie. So they only have, again, 20% more population, but their revenue streams are exponentially higher than ours.
So what are you
But all of the amenities that we have are comparable. So we can, the problem that we have is how do we fund appropriate amenities for our residents with the very limited resources that we have without driving our residents away?
Well, I think you should bring to the table your proposals, maybe 2 or 3 proposals on what you think we should do. A, being the best proposal that you think, and then bringing that to us and we can discuss it.
I think part of that though is him going back to those discussions and questions. I think he's asking for our direction so he can come with those proposals.
I mean, on the cuts,
Yeah.
Well, it sounds, I mean, I'm for all the cuts except the third sheet of ice. It sounds like I'm probably gonna be outvoted on that, but that's just my point of view, so.
The long-term solution, and Carrie and I have been working, our long-term solution is we have to modernize our housing.
Yep.
We get as an example, we get that 17% bump from LGA for pre-1940 housing. On average, a pre-1940 house in Crookston, Minnesota costs, and I think this is pretty spot on, about $100,000, roughly. At our tax rate, the tax capacity on a $100,000 house is $1,000. It's 1% for residential. Consider if it does not have a homestead on it. At that $1,000 tax capacity, our current tax rate for '24 was 68%. We're making $680 in taxes on that house. If we get 17% bump in LGA, that means that house, through various sources, is paying us a total of about $800 a year. The 680 plus 17% in LGA, lump it together, that house is paying us about $800 a year. If that house is replaced with a modern home, a new construction, which is going to be in the $300,000 to $350,000 range, even $350,000, even with a homestead exemption, the tax capacity on a $300,000 home is $3,000. 68% of $3,000 is a lot more than $800. It's about $2,000 to $2,100. So I'm not saying we need to just go and start bulldozing all of our houses. That's not realistic and it's not right. But what we do need to do is start just like when I was interviewing for this position, we do need to improve our housing stock. We need to increase our modern housing. Our problem is our tax base. And we need to revitalize that tax base to become, basically, 1997 was a reset for East Grand Forks. We don't have a flood, so we have to create our own reset without a disaster.
So when I was looking at that, it looked, I mean, where it started going up now, given the economy changed, values of houses, but it kind of correlated when all of those houses started going in on Barrett, right? It was like 2015, 2016 that our tax base started going up some. And I believe that's right around those times that those lots on Barrett Street went up. And all those new houses there, which are all valued at about 300-some thousand.
I think down Barrett and Eichhoff.
Right. My other thought to what you're saying there is I know Carrie has asked for an additional employee to help with housing. And I understand that's adding here to the tax levy and all of that, right? Asking for another employee. But if we are also asking, I've had discussions with Carrie that employee's job will be working on housing and trying to get new housing and all of that. And I think if we are saying, right, our tax base is the best way to fix this is to get our tax base up and newer housing. And on that, I think that is something worth investing in, to have somebody to work those grants, to work those funds, to try to bring in that new housing to help lift our tax base.
Yeah.
I think we have to have something to look at, so I would really think we could have an A and B or C proposal
and the rebuilding of the housing, that would be a more strategic look.
Long term.
And obviously we need to look at all of the aspects. Right now, our core issue is how can we move forward while funding these items? Carrie and I have discussed several options to draw developers to the city to try to get some housing developments moving forward that we will not need to put money. The housing authority builds a few houses, 1 or 2 houses a year, but if we do that, we're 30 years from now, we're gonna be in the same boat. and all of the houses that we built this year are all gonna be too old. So we need a larger scale. I made a call a week and a half ago down to the cities, to the State Builders Association, and I've told them, I said, listen, I do not have a project, I'm trying to gauge interest, I'm floating a trial balloon, as they say in the political realm. I said, if I had a parcel of X size with no utilities, no nothing, the cost to develop the infrastructure would be X. I can repay that with a TIF district over 20 years. I would ask the developer to put all of the infrastructure in, all of the roads, build the houses, and recoup their initial cost of investment and infrastructure through the TIF district over time. So that would likely involve a developer bond. What interest would I get? And she said, I don't know, but I can send a few emails and find out. The next day I got calls from 9 developers from all over the state, all over Minnesota and North Dakota. All of them gave me their email addresses, said, when you put the RFP out, make sure I'm on it. So we have the possibility of strong development for our future. That is something that can move forward, and it wouldn't cost us very much at all to move down that path. But the biggest question looming in front of us is how do we get from here to there in the meantime?
So one of the things we're not discussing is any type of new revenue we can bring in. You know, last year we added a marketing/event coordinator, and my hopes was that we could eventually start bringing on some events to the community center. You know, maybe small at first, just try some things and maybe just different things like that. What is the thoughts on that? I mean, Morgan, do you have any thoughts on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I do have thoughts on this. Unfortunately, we found out before Keenan started, we had put together a plan and 30, 60, 90, what we had asked. It sounds like that was not given to you, which was part of that. Again, to the point, community center.
Yeah.
If we had a second sheet of ice, that is something that could be used throughout the year. I think that's worth that. I know that there is talks of moving Keenan under Carrie, and then she can give that direction from like a business standpoint, which I think is fair at this point. So I think there have been movements there. I do feel like that we can do different things if there is availability and direction given.
One of the key things, and Keenan and I have spoken about this, is a refocusing of his mission to some extent. Marketing the city for events and purposes is a very positive thing, and we want to continue to do that. But I don't believe that that's a full-time job. But what I've spoken with Keenan about is shifting his focus more to a business-to-business type mentality in filling our downtown, helping to fill our downtown businesses, helping to fill our industrial park, getting these businesses. And again, every business that comes to our industrial park is an addition to our tax base.
Yeah, that's not the vision we had when we created this position. Our vision was marketing and events. That was the vision. Correct me if I'm wrong, Morgan.
No, it is. Now, I would say I don't want that vision to change. If we feel that there is capacity to take on B2B marketing, I am okay with it. But I want that vision to stay.
Yes.
And then it's looking at.
I mean, I think we should look at the end of, I think we should put some more focus on the events and look and then try to do that through 2025 to see what type of revenue at the end of 2025, how that worked and what are the challenges of that going forward. But first, I think we have to give it a full effort to do that. I mean, because in my mind, when we created this position, this position would pay for itself and then, and more.
Yeah.
So through events and then marketing those events. So I guess I would like to see a plan for 2025 on some potential events. I mean, I threw up a couple things, just getting something started, like having a food truck day or week or something like that. Just try to get some, generate some activity for the community that can be fun for them, that they would attend. You know, something at the community center, like throughout the summer. I mean, the thing we have to focus on is how many days in the summer does that how many weekends does that building sit empty? Now, I know part of the issue is it's pretty hot in there in the summertime, so, but if we had some events in there, maybe we would look at pulling in some central air or something, and having that discussion, but we have a beautiful building out there that doesn't get used in the summer. Now, I'm not saying it should be a net zero, but what I am saying, because I mean, on a grander scale, the Alara Center and the Fargo Dome very seldom are a net zero, but I think they strive to come close each year. Now, obviously, their community center is on a much smaller scale, but I think we could try to hold some events in there during the summer that people will attend.
I know people travel for craft shows.
And there's other things people travel for. We just gotta figure it out.
Just playing a devil's advocate role, while I appreciate the events and the functions for people, the question that I would ask is, how do those events increase our city direct? I understand that they impact residents, craft show and vendors, food trucks. How do these events bring significant dollars directly to city revenues would be the question that I would ask.
I think to Delaine's point is, if we had events and we're renting out space at the arena, right? So there is that. There's also bringing revenue to our businesses here in town. And then also the thought, a long-term play was making this a place where people want to live and bringing people in here. To your point of housing, right? Like choosing to live here, choosing it as a, to a point of a bedroom community. That this is a place to be because there are things for you to do here. It was a long-term play on that one.
Because that was the sole purpose of bringing on the marketing director. Not to morph into other duties.
Now, if there is capacity though.
Yeah.
I'm happy with other things if there's capacity, if we're getting what we need and then capacity there.
I just think, marketing's gotta be at all aspects of our city, not only events, but also market our community. I mean, the first paragraph in the housing study, it starts with the city, but if we're gonna attract people to move here or live here, we've got no housing development ready to go anywhere.
Right.
And you look at a price a lot over in, I guess I'm looking in Grand Forks. I mean, the price of a lot over there compared to what we had here at the time, they would get more bang for their house here than they would over there, but we never ever market that, what we got here.
And I will say, I think in my vision was the events and all of that, but it was also to attract businesses and housing here,
Yep.
was my thought.
But, to move forward with, grow our tax capacity, and that way, the more housing we have, it spreads it out more evenly for everybody. But without a development to where we could build homes, cause right now we've got nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
And I think that would be one of the priorities.
Okay, so from a strategic standpoint, I think I have the marching orders there. At what level is the council comfortable with our immediate needs? What would the council like to see from a proposal at our next meeting?
Well,
Elaborate on
For
what
the
you're asking
immediate,
from
for
us.
the immediate budgetary needs.
Are you asking us what we want added, what we want cut, what we want to stay the same?
With that,
Are you asking us what you should set, or we should try to set the levy at, or?
Right now, you pull up the right spreadsheet.
I just wanna share that I've been going door to door now for a couple of weeks, and the feedback from a lot of the citizens is that, you know, obviously they're frustrated with the levy going up, and we know that, they were frustrated last year. Also, but when I hear people who have lived in our community a long time saying that they're gonna look to sell because it's going too high, that is really what we're trying to avoid, right?
I mean, keeping it low hasn't grown this community at all either.
No,
Like, we've
but
been losing
going up
people anyway.
huge amounts is.
But I mean, also saying you're gonna sell because the levy's going up and actually doing it are two very different things as well.
For sure.
Well,
I mean, I definitely understand that, but
And I would also argue, as we've seen,
No,
where are they going to go? It's a higher tax rate.
Yeah.
definitely.
The places where they would go is a higher tax rate than what we have.
Perceptions and reality are different for people though.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So if they're doing their due diligence, I understand that the perception is that, but the truth is that we have been artificially low for a very long time.
Oversight, yeah.
Well, the early years that I was on council and I kept on, you know, we're kicking the can down the road. Is, you know, they didn't wanna upset the residents.
I know, when I first got on, it was just like, before we even, it's almost before we even had the discussion, they would set the levy rate, so the departments really just said, okay, well, they couldn't fix anything because it was,
So low.
yeah.
You know, and it's finally caught up to us.
Well, that, and then we find, I hope that our finances are starting to be a truer number that we are getting this year as opposed to numbers that we've gotten over the past, because they haven't. So can you bring levy rates along with some of the graphs, say, okay, if we have this, well, cause you're talking about creating a tax rate that would stay the same basically every year and continue to grow,
That would
correct?
be the goal.
Yeah, so can you,
The goal would be to find the tax rate that hits equilibrium.
right,
It allows the growth in our property values to fund inflation.
can you bring those numbers and say, if we do this, this'll create the path that we need to be on? And then if it goes this'll be okay, but it won't sustain in the long term.
I think to do that though, I mean, we have to start talking about what we're cutting.
I mean, but even if we cut the pole and everything,
That's not gonna fix everything, right?
it's really a small amount in the grand.
Obviously, we need to raise the levy's going up from last year, right? But I will say, I don't feel comfortable with it at where it's at now and just being like, we get everything that we're asking for.
Right.
Right? So I think there has to be, obviously it has to go up, to what point is it going up? But also like, what are we cutting and then what are we doing to bring in that revenue, right? Like, I think that has to be some hard discussions that we have to have. And we can sit here and ask Jeff to be like, bring us your recommendation. I think we have to give some guidance too.
So you compared the fire department and the police department, but what about East Grand Forks Park and Rec versus ours? What about the city staff versus ours, and all those different things based on?
I can get that information from Reed.
Because, I mean, I understand, you know, seem to be comparable within the, so it doesn't seem like we're getting the full picture on.
I would anticipate they probably have more staff.
Possibly, but.
Just simply because they have more funds available.
Right.
Their tax capacity after 97, you know, they got a lot more higher end homes over there too.
Yeah.
So, with the stuff that was presented tonight, can we get this stuff prior to the meeting? Cause I would like to look at this.
Yeah, I've been asking for the, any presentation that is given to the council, I would like on our laptop so we can follow along, cause to be honest with you, most of us can't see what's the screen up there.
Or in our packet, because it's.
Yeah, I know I can't see that.
Opportunity
Yeah, I mean,
to Look at it ahead of time.
once you
Because
sent
we're
it,
coming in here,
Yeah.
not knowing, and then all of a sudden it's put up, and we don't have a chance to really sit down and figure it out
Well,
without doing it here.
You wouldn't get figure right away anyway.
yeah, so we just, before you got here, we decided any presentation was gonna be in our, sent either in the packets or on our laptops by Friday. So we were,
yeah, but even, with this presentation tonight, without Jeff explaining it, how much would you?
I know, but it's good to have the,
We're able to look at it, and then figure out questions or something like that, that we can look at. You could still do the presentation, but we probably would have more questions prepared ahead of time for you.
Absolutely.
so Jeff, you got what you need for,
Yes, I will do the analysis and run some long-term trends. See, one of the struggles that is going to come up, and I think it showed in a couple of the graphs, is, again, our tax capacity here in Crookston is not consistent. Our tax capacity fluctuates much more than other cities with newer housing, with more developed economies, for the simple reason that older homes once they reach a certain point, start losing value. And without that additional impact, without that additional work or replacement, it creates volatility in our tax
for
base.
sure, but that's nothing we're gonna fix within even the next 5 years.
It's not going to be a quick fix.
You have to get the information.
My estimation is for us to reach stability at some point, we're probably looking at 3 to 6 years. Probably closer to the 5 to 6 than the 3, to reach a stable, growth-oriented, reasonable, logical, plannable budget. Right now, with the volatility in our tax capacity, again, with inflation, accounting for inflation, 8 of the last 15 years, our tax capacity has dropped.
It's gonna continue to drop.
And every time our tax capacity drops, we have to make one of two choices. We have to either raise our tax rate or cut a service. Because those are the only choices. We can't continue to go in the same path. So, then that makes it for a very difficult set of budget cycles.
Identify those areas, right?
So I will begin working on moving forward, get with Holly, and we will try to come up with some plans and some numbers that are tenable.
Sounds good.
We're also looking for you to move forward with it. You need, the cuts you were recommending, you need those in the equation, or that can wait?
I can provide several different options.
Okay.
Holly, what does your schedule look like tomorrow? What does your schedule look like tomorrow?
Pretty open.
It's not anymore.
Okay, is that it? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.